Aasif Mandvi is an actor, producer, and comic who is very well known for his work alongside Jon Stewart on The Daily Show. As correspondent for that program, his comedic take on America's foreign policy and our past elections kept many people in stitches. Nowadays, he's a cast member for the soon-to-launch program, A Series of Unfortunate Events, which stars Neil Patrick Harris and is based on the popular series of children's books of the same name. I recently spoke to him about the new program. We got into some political talk as well, some serious, some not so serious. Here's that interview. Take a look. You were a correspondent for the Comedy Central Daily Show. In view of Mr. Trump, in view of what's going on in politics now, do you miss that?
Do I miss being on The Daily Show?
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way. I mean, I feel like, you know, what was great was sort of, I do miss that platform of having a place to go every day and sort of write about this stuff and talk about it. Now I just tweet about it, like our president-elect.
Jon Stewart, a lot of people thought that he invented fake news. Did he normalize fake news? What do you make of this whole fake news thing?
Well, you know, we didn't really, the news wasn't fake. The news was real on The Daily Show. It was sometimes our take on it, you know, was obviously comic, and some of our accents were fake. But I don't think the news was ever fake. This is a whole nother level of fake news we're dealing with now, where actual sort of fabrications and just complete made-up stories, you know?
Aasif, back in August, you told The Hollywood Reporter that, quote, "There's a very Buddhist part of me that says maybe this is America's time to experience the demagogue and see how it feels." You also said that if Trump won, it would mean a collective insanity has taken over. Do you still believe that?
I think so. I think that, you know, what I think Trump is essentially is an act of terrorism. What we have done to our own democracy. You know, I think there were a lot of people who were really angry and really upset, mostly white people, who were basically saying the America that we want doesn't exist, or the America that we hope for, or the American dream that we had, or the white privilege or whatever. And so they threw a Molotov cocktail into the entire system, which may have been broken, but now that thing is going to explode, and I think a lot of people are going to be really disappointed when Donald Trump does not turn out to be the person that they thought he would be, you know?
Follow me. Now, your parents and I practically grew up together. I can't believe your parents never told you about me. I love them dearly. Look, here's a picture of us.
There's no one in that picture.
We were locked inside the piano. Ah, we were so young. Well, it seems that some proper introductions need to be made. Do you know what herpetology means?
During the campaign, you slammed his anti-Muslim rhetoric, Trump's.
Yeah.
Do you think he's backing down? Are you concerned?
I mean, you know, I get the sense that a lot of what he said on the campaign trail is not going to be quite how it's going to play out. You know, we can already see it with the wall. You know, originally it was like, we're going to build this wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. And it was like this sort of tent pole of his entire campaign. And now suddenly, Mexico's not going to pay for it right now. We're going to pay for it, but then we will send them a receipt for the wall at some point, which I'm sure they will pay for. So, you know, like, I think this is where I think that we're going to realize that a lot of what Donald Trump said during the campaign was to get elected and was to ramp up that anger and fear and that rhetoric. And now that he has been elected, I think a lot of those people that were very angry and they voted for him because they were angry, I don't think he's going to serve them that well.
Have you ever experienced Islamophobia?
Sure. You know, I think that it's you know, being profiled, being sort of like, I haven't experienced it to the degree that I think some other people have, partly because a lot of TSA agents watch The Daily Show, so I think they sort of know who I am. But I think that it's definitely something that friends of mine, people within the Islamic community have experienced. And look, I know people who go to mosques where there are definitely people, informants in those mosques. There's FBI watching those mosques, things like that. I mean, being Muslim in America has definitely, it's become a dirty word, and that's too bad.
How about the way Hollywood and television portrays roles for South Asian and Middle Eastern actors?
Well, I think it's getting better, and I think that there's a lot more people creating roles now. I think that element of diversity, where you see stories that are not just about white Caucasian men, that I think is changing. I think, personally, I feel like it could go further. I have projects that I'm developing. I know that there are other people, minorities, people of Middle Eastern, South Asian descent, who are creating projects and telling stories because they're American stories, but they're just from a different perspective,
What did you think of the Meryl Streep thing, where she did that long, interesting critique without mentioning the president-elect's name?
Right.
And then he responded by calling her the most overrated actress ever.
Yeah, I mean, calling Meryl Streep the most overrated actress of our time, I mean, it's sort of like Einstein was a dum-dum, It's like, I don't know, it's clearly the response of a 3-year-old, It sometimes feels like his tweets are like, I know you am, but, I know I am, but so are you, or whatever, It's like he kind of has these very juvenile responses, and clearly his skin is so thin that there is no slight that he cannot ignore.
Couldn't he have said, I want to bring the country together? I'm sorry what I did with that reporter, that I imitated his physical problems, and she made some good points, and it's my job to bring America together. Wouldn't that have been a sound thing to say?
Well, that would have been incredibly presidential. And, look, I think that at the end of the day, I think what we're dealing with, you can say other presidents have had their issues, and, we like to think that, however, that the person who takes that office is a public servant and is doing that because they feel like they want to make a change and they want to. I don't feel that Donald Trump is that. I feel like Donald Trump is mostly about Donald Trump. And, a lot of his business interests and the conflicts, those things are very troubling. And I feel like at the end of the day, we're going to see that he's ultimately going to serve his brand and his celebrity more than he's going to serve the American people, I think.
And does that frighten you?
Yeah, it frightens me because I think it is undermining our republic. It is literally the way authoritarianism begins. You shut out the press, you delegitimize them in some ways. You don't, you threaten to kill your enemies, or jail them, or people who disagree with you. You only listen to people, what I mean? And so this is how authoritarianism starts. And, you praise Vladimir Putin and Saddam Hussein. You
were born in India, moved to the UK. Your family moved to Florida when you were in high school. You still have a British passport. Did you ever?
You have done your research.
Did you ever consider? Yeah, we have a crack crew.
That's crazy.
Did you ever consider?
You've been in my apartment.
Did you ever? By the way, you need more milk. Did you ever think of returning to the UK? Did you ever think of leaving America?
Well, I think that UK is a bit of a mess right now as well. So I kind of have the best of both worlds, the UK and a US and a British passport. I may just go back to India
If you're very active on Twitter, what is your reaction to Trump's use of Twitter?
Well, I just find that, you know, look, if it becomes, I think, if we stopped, if we stopped reporting on his tweets, if we just ignored his tweets, I wonder if then he would actually give a press conference. Because what Trump really wants is attention, and he doesn't want to be ignored. I think that's the scariest thing for him. So I just challenge the media to just not report on his tweets.
Don't you have to report anything a president or a president-elect says or does?
Well, that's true, but we are in a kind of new age, aren't we? I mean, we have a president who is sort of breaking the rules right, left, and center. So perhaps we don't have to report everything he says, you know?
Do you follow him on Twitter?
I check his Twitter account every day. It's the most entertaining part of my day.
Hypocrisy.
You know, this is what's happened. We get up, all of us, we get up in the morning and we go, what crazy thing did Donald Trump say today? And that's what's going to happen for the next 4 years. We are going to wake up every day and say, what crazy,
but wait a minute.
What celebrity did our president go after today?
In a sense, isn't that healthy, though, that your president, as he says, is talking directly to you?
Yeah.
Think of it. No closed doors.
Yeah, he's talking to me in 140-character sound bites, you know, so I don't get to talk back to him. I don't get to ask him questions. I don't get to, ask him anything about what he's saying. He's just spewing forth propaganda.
You're part of the cast of Netflix, A Series of Unfortunate Events based on the children's books by Lemony Snicket. What is your role? What is this all about?
So this is a series that Netflix is doing. I don't know if you remember, there was a movie made a few years ago with Jim Carrey called Lemony Snicket, based on the books, Lemony Snicket, A Series of Unfortunate Events. And Netflix is now doing the entire collection of books. And it's amazing. It's beautiful. It's funny. It's cinematic. It's great. If you love the books, you'll love this series. And I play Uncle Montgomery, who is a renowned herpetologist.
A herpetologist.
Do you know what a herpetologist is?
No idea.
It is a person who studies reptiles.
Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
And so it's great. I mean, it was a lot of fun to shoot. It was Netflix has really gone all out with this show. It looks amazing. Neil Patrick Harris plays the lead, Count Olaf, and he's phenomenal in it. And it's really great.
Isn't a lot of it dark?
It's dark. It's funny. It's a lot of things. It's really an adventure, more than anything else.
Do you like acting?
I do. It's my first love. I started as an actor. I continue to be an actor. And even when I was on The Daily Show, I always, Jon Stewart was great. He would always let me go off and do a movie or a television thing outside of the show. So it is my first passion, yeah.
You were a correspondent for years of Living Dangerously on the National Geographic Channel. You went to Africa for an episode called The Sixth Extinction. What was that experience like?
So the years of Living Dangerously was on National Geographic, and it was a series that deals with climate change and how different parts of the world are being affected by climate change. And the story that I did was in Africa, in Kenya, and we followed. The story was about how animals are suffering from climate change. The creatures that are most affected by climate change are animals and poor people in the world, and so it's really tragic to see what is happening to our large mammals. We're going to lose in 10 years. The African elephant is going to become extinct, and that is partly due to climate change. So it was a fascinating series, and I got to really learn a great deal about how climate change affects wildlife. And if you could check it out, it's on National Geographic. It's really amazing, and a lot of great stories about how climate change affects different parts of our world and in different countries.
Aasif, you are a treasure to Britain, America, and India.
Wow.
And I love you wherever you go, and wherever you go, we'll follow you.
Well, thank you, Larry. That's a little creepy, but I appreciate it.